Hey guys, welcome to episode 5 of Operation PlayStation. I'm one of your hosts, Dash, along with my co-host, Mr. Paul James. What's going on, Padge?
I'm well. How are you?
Not bad, dude. Not bad.
That's not what you asked, but anyway.
I know. I asked what's going on, but it's the same thing, really. It's the exact same thing.
We're delirious. It's been that horrible pandemic is doing a number on us.
Well, we're losing track of...
in a variety of different ways.
Losing track of days, time, months. Like, everything is kind of just in limbo right now. I feel like everything is in limbo, and we're starting to lose just a sense of what reality really is right now.
I can't even take my son to a park.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Really weird. But this is the times we're living in, dude. This is it. But this is not.
And we're going to talk PlayStation.
This is not the pandemic, Operation Pandemic. This is Operation PlayStation. Dashgamer.com's
far superior product.
Dedicated PlayStation podcast where we dive deep and dirty and discover what the latest and greatest in PlayStation and what they have to offer us, including next-gen gaming. If you like what you hear today, be sure to follow us over on iTunes and Spotify for those cheeky 5-star ratings. And of course, you can watch the show live on Twitch, usually. We've had some, obviously with the internet being up and down, with the throttling and everything that's going on, we kind of didn't get to go live this week, but usually...
I mean, let's put it this way. I'm looking at you right now and you are frozen on my end.
Oh, really?
So that's... Actually, you just unfroze as soon as I said it, but you'd been frozen for about a minute beforehand, so that's where the internet is at present. Great. The fact that we can even do this remotely and it's working is a blessing. Yeah.
But find the VOD on dashgamer.com and listen to all the audio on all the podcast services. Yep. Padge, I'll start with you. Do you have any housekeeping?
I do. The usual. We're going to talk Dev Diary. So Matt Trobiani, who worked on Hacknet, and he's currently working on WrestleDunk Sports. He was the latest guest on Dev Diary. It's been really well received, so go check that out. We're both going to be talking in a bit more detail about this shortly, but there's Resident Evil 3. We've both done a review for Resident Evil 3, so go and check that out as well. And I will be working on a Resident Evil Resistance thing. But I don't know about your experiences, but I couldn't even really access a game in the lead up to launch.
Oh, there is a report about that. I should probably pull that up while you keep going.
Drop that into the episode. Yeah. But yeah, so I was having a bit of some issues with that. So the review is solely focused on the single player thing, and myself and one of the other writers from the Player 2 team will do something dedicated to Resistance separately in the near future. I've also got a review for Twin Breaker, which let's not go too deep into other people's PlayStation podcasts, probably the most successful one of the lot. But certain host, Colin Moriarty, has developed a game and put it out there, and I reviewed that. There's also videos for Twin Breaker, for Resident Evil 3, for the Resistance, the full playthrough series of Resistance 1, 2, 3 that I've been doing, and Trials of Mana as well. I don't know, did you try out the demo for that when it went available recently?
Yes, I did.
It's pretty
fantastic.
Sweet, right?
I love it. I love the Mana games.
Super keen. So yeah, I've got a Play 2 Plays dedicated to that. You can find on the YouTube channel as well.
Fantastic.
So that's everything for me.
Awesome. For me, it's basically Resident Evil 3 review, Neo 2 review, and our Doom Eternal review. Thanks to Capcom, PlayStation Australia, and Bethesda, respectively, on each of those. So
I should actually be thanking Cat and Capcom as well, because thank you for Resident Evil.
Thank you to Capcom Australia for providing a review code on that one. We're going to be deep diving onto that one and discussing it in depth later in the episode. But Padge, as we do with every episode so far that we've done, we're only 5 episodes in, but every episode.
Religiously.
Exactly. Let's just jump right into the news. So, Padge, the first bit of news that's come out basically takes us right into the discussion on PlayStation 5 and whether we're going to be seeing it this year. And look, things are looking up.
Actually, we should before we dive into this bit. Sorry, it just occurred to me. We should probably also just point out to everyone that we had a conversation about the whole Mark Cerny thing a few weeks back that technically was between the last episode and this one, and we thought that we should probably kick that one to the curb because it just didn't present enough information for us. So we're not going to be diving into that in this particular episode. But you do have the Dash Gamer podcast where Ryan and Dash spoke about it recently, so go check that out.
I mean, even there, we were kind of scarce on the details and what we discussed. It was basically, it was their GDC presentation, and it was all specs and numbers and teraflops and all that stuff. So, like, if you were interested in the specky side of stuff on the PlayStation 5, you can definitely check out the presentation. But for us, we're
mass floppage.
We're about the games. We want the games, so we're going to have to wait a little longer for that. But this article comes by way of Joe Screbbles over at IGN, who says, PS5 no delay because of COVID-19, says Sony. Profits down, but PS5 on track. A Sony spokesperson has said the COVID-19 outbreak should cause no impact on the launch date of the PlayStation 5. Speaking to Bloomberg, the spokesperson said the company doesn't see any notable impact on the unspecified holiday 2020 release date for PlayStation 5. We had already heard a Sony retained PR agency make a similar statement, but this is the first time someone at Sony itself has made a comment. The sentiment has been echoed by GameStop CEO George Sherman, who earlier said that there has been no indication of delays to either PS5 or Xbox Series X at this point. So I asked this question on the Dash Gamer podcast at Betson last week, so I'm going to ask you the same thing. Do you think we're going to see the PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X this year?
Both.
So, okay, yeah.
And again, I mean, the factories are starting to open in China again. Massive credit to what the Chinese government has been able to do outside of stifling the whole horrible situation in the first place. Once we got through that, factories are starting to open again. Manufacturing's starting to open again. Now, some people are still losing jobs over there because the requests for manufacture haven't really picked up yet because it's still affecting everyone else. Right. But there's two guaranteed jobs coming down the line, and that is the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Yeah. So those consoles will get made, and they might actually have an abundance of stuff. So we may not even have the potential stock issues that we were worried about a few weeks ago.
Right.
I'm not expecting any issues at all now.
I'm kind of worried.
It'll be more for us accessing that might still be an issue if the current situation is still awful in various parts of the world. Yeah. Then maybe it'll be hard for us to get to a store and pick it up. But, if it can get through manufacturing, then everything else is delivery and freight and all those sort of things. That is still occurring business as usual from all reports, and presumably will still remain the case, because if we talk about what Australia's doing, it's considered an essential service. Yeah. And if people are trapped in their homes and you can't get things delivered to them, we've got ourselves a Last of Us style issue here. Yeah. So I think it'll be fine in that regard, only because manufacturing's up and running again.
Look, here's my thought on it, and it's funny because Simon Blackburn of Take My Tone brought this up on the Dash Gamer podcast last week when it was discussed as well about this situation or a similar situation. Oh, well, no, it was the exact same situation being presented to us. It was basically that Foxconn, who manufacture like everything, phones, consoles, computers, everything, they have come back into production over in China, but their priority right now are phones. There is a manufacturing plant in the US that's currently not operating due to the coronavirus outbreak in the US right now. But the thing that he brought up was if somehow miraculously the US is able to open up Foxconn again in a couple of months' time or whenever they can, and get workers on it, their workers who primarily don't handle manufacturing of consoles could possibly look into doing so to kind of
make it happen.
Yeah, to push the console, to make sure that the console gets out on time. The console's out on time, I should say. I am pessimistic, though, about the situation in regards to it actually getting a release in 2020. The only optimism I've got out of this is that once COVID-19 has passed in certain regions, then we could see the possibility of a minimum stockpile of those units actually reach shores and get out the door. But I honestly
pre-order everyone.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably the message that will get you your console. Pre-order, because they're gonna be hard to find.
Yeah, And don't take the wrist in store. Get it delivered to you just to be sure.
Yeah. Here's also what I see a problem too. I feel like with there is a potential failure to come out of this if they're going to release a minimum amount of stock at one point. Basically, what it does is it sells the consumer on an impression instead of like a full product. And the reason I say that is because if only a limited amount of numbers get out there and there's not really enough, there's not as many titles that are out with the unit for when, let's just say that a full shipment comes through afterwards. There's not going to be that much of an impression on gamers afterwards to want to pick up that console because they've already had a taste and they've thought, okay, it's great, but I don't know about it. You know what I mean?
And that's where on the PlayStation side, and there's an equivalent for the Xbox as well with Halo, but that's where all the heat goes on to Guerrilla to get Horizon Zero Dawn 2 or whatever it ultimately gets called out the door in time for launch. Like that launch title needs to hit.
Do you think it's going to be a launch title?
Yeah, some of the third. Well, I mean, I think all the reporting. I think there's enough conjecture and enough reporting on the whole thing that makes me think that there's certainly something to it anyway.
Yeah.
And if you just go through the numbers, and it was a 2017 title. We were talking about this before we were recording. It was 2017.
Yeah.
And I think it checks out. There's enough there that makes me think it's certainly the launch window title. And I think for the sake of driving numbers, they need to make sure it is on track for launch because some of the third parties, PlayStation isn't in control of what the third parties can output. Like if the team that was working on what was the name of that game that was revealed at the Game Awards? It was the Gearbox developed or published title.
Oh, I can't.
It kind of had a Darksiders-y sort of look and feel about it in terms of the style, but
was it a PlayStation 5
anyway.
one?
Godfall.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Godfall. To use that as the example, because it's only one of a few confirmed PS5 games we know about. Like if that slips because they can't actually get the job done, like your pile of games that you could potentially purchase are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Yep. But if one of them is Horizon, people are happy.
Here's how I would do it if I was in charge, basically. How much is Horizon? Like I should know this, but I've actually I haven't been working.
How much?
I haven't been working for a few months, but do you know how much Horizon Zero Dawn is? It's about
to buy the game.
$20 right now, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's a classic.
Yeah, the essential is what they call it.
Essential, yeah.
It fits the word these days, essential.
Yeah.
So, Horizon Zero Dawn is part of the Essential line on PlayStation 4, so it's only selling at about $20. And like when JB had these specials, it's usually like the 2 for $40 in those stockpile bins and everything. So it's cheap. Yeah. It's one of those throwaway titles that they bundle in with PlayStation 4 now.
Oh, they've made all their money on it. That's why we think the PC port makes so much sense.
However, I would also look into porting it to PlayStation 5 at launch, bundled with the unit, so that people can experience that just in case Guerrilla don't have Horizon Zero Dawn 5 ready for launch. Not saying that they shouldn't have any other like original titles at launch on PlayStation 5. They definitely should be. I mean, if anything, FIFA 21 will probably be on PlayStation 5 at launch. And Call of Duty.
There's some things that global pandemics won't stop, and that's the release of the latest iteration of your big sports ball game.
But I think to push more units, units will push out the door regardless at launch. But I think to kind of set the tone that, hey, Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is coming, bundle Horizon with your PlayStation 5s. You're losing money already on your PlayStation 4s. Might as well do it with your PlayStation 5 as well and make an impression. So
yeah, possibly.
If they can do any better in, like, the game's marvelous already as it is in terms of presentation, aesthetics, and design, and everything else about it. If they could do any better in terms of upgrading it visually, which honestly they don't really have to, they can just grab it, copy, paste, and I think it'd still do well. It would be great to see it on the PlayStation 5 as a precursor to what people could experience in Horizon Zero Dawn 2 on PlayStation 5, which could potentially be 10 times better.
I mean, linking back to, I guess, our original conversation where, like, are the consoles going to be delayed? I think it does become a case of if Horizon gets delayed, the console gets delayed. Like, let's suppose that is the only first-party thing that's on the way. And I don't necessarily believe that that's the case because Polyphony, for example, have been quiet for a while. I know it takes them 15 years to actually release a Gran Turismo game, but they have been quiet for a while there, and it's very obvious that they are working on a PS5 title. Yeah. If there's no first-party title coming at launch, and obviously I'm implying that Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is one of them, then the console will slide as well, because I just don't think you can launch without any form of first-party presence. Yeah. And the same sort of thing, and obviously there were rumours, and I think it's been shut down on the Xbox side, that 343 were having issues with everything that's stemming from our big global issues at the moment, and that Halo might potentially slide. And I think they have quashed that a little bit.
Well, they're trying to.
But it's not to say it won't be an issue. They try to, yeah. And, maybe there's truth to it, maybe there's not. But I don't know. I think for both sides, if they don't have their big hitter, they just, even if they've got the stock, they push the console because they need the games. Console selling games. Xbox has learnt that lesson. They've had to learn that lesson. That without games, you don't sell. PlayStation already knows this, but will potentially, through circumstances that are out of their control, find themselves in that situation.
Yeah, and I think it also, in regards to Xbox Series X's launch with Halo being bundled with the unit, it's one of those things where I feel that if PlayStation take that but use Horizon Zero Dawn, its first entry as their bundled units to their advantage, it could potentially increase sales that they weren't initially going to have, due to people who look at the specky side of stuff and go, oh, but the unit is just weaker than the Xbox. Yes, we know, but it's at the end of the day, it's not about that. No, it's about the games, and Horizon Zero Dawn is excellent. So if nobody, then PlayStation can do it. So and that's what I believe. Yep. So jumping into the next story of the night, Paj, this one is a bit of a doozy because the rumors are swelling. And this has been a discussion we've been having for
Buddy Watson
months and months and months now regarding a Good Friday release. And it says, this one comes by way of Robert Ramsey over at Push Square, who says Final Fantasy VII Remake will ship far earlier in Europe and Australia. Square Enix confirms.
And we'll break street date.
Yes, early copies incoming. Look, I'm telling you now, next Tuesday, we're going to be seeing copies. I'm telling you now, no pizza bet, because we don't do that here. We're not stupid. No pizza bets. But this is what the article says.
Early to midweek next week.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Square Enix has released a new statement once again addressing the shipping and delivery of Final Fantasy VII Remake amidst of the coronavirus outbreak. The publisher confirms that Europe and Australia, the upcoming role-playing title, will now ship far earlier than initially planned. The development team writes, quote, we had some hard decisions to make during the final weeks before launch due to disruption to distribution channels caused by the spread of COVID-19. These unique circumstances have made it very difficult to align timing of our global shipping. Let's put a stop right here. I think that's all we need. That's pretty much it. The statement does continue. Our highest priority is that all of you, including those who live in countries currently facing the biggest disruption, can play the game at launch. So we had to make the decision to to ship the game far earlier than usual to Europe and Australia. Let me just say this. The two places that would probably have had to break street date on this title are Europe and Australia, based on one single day, Good Friday.
It's kind of worked out nicely for them in that regard, that they've been able to say, oh, look, we're good guys, Square Enix. It's because of the outbreak, not because of the fact that we made up a shitty release date.
Stuffed up. Go on.
Let's just get this out of the way. Buddy Watson. It's not for the reasons that we outlined, but I'm right, my friend. And I'm going to thoroughly enjoy playing Final Fantasy VII Remake before Good Friday.
I know, me too. But hold your horses, because nothing's confirmed.
No, this will happen.
It's going to happen. Yeah.
Like, there's already retail, and I mean, we don't have the article in there, but Shannon from Press Start, he's posted a report there about how he's already confirmed with a few local retailers that they do have their copies already. So once there's enough of them, I looked at, there was EB put a post up today about Persona, I think it was, because Persona came out today. And the number of people in the comments just going, hey, just be a good guy and just put Final Fantasy out. Yeah. Like, that swell is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. And the looming threat of the government shutting everything down is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. That they'll just go, no, we've just got to pull the trigger, because we don't like the way things have been with the federal government, but also the state levels is like they make a call, they make an announcement at 8 o'clock at night, and it sometimes kicks in the next day.
10 o'clock the other night.
So like, they don't have an opportunity to actually open their doors and sell people the copy. Like, you've got one day, get in here and get it. Like, they don't want that, because there'll be so many copies that I'm stuck at work, I can't get there.
So Shannon over at Press Start did put out an article today that said it's only a matter of time. Not long ago, the game's been sent out revealing that AFL Evolution 2 would start shipping to customers starting this Thursday, more than 2 weeks ahead of release. In the same email, the gamesmen say that Final Fantasy VII Remake is, in quotes and big bold letters, coming real soon. Not a date, coming real soon. Considering both other games in the email, Resident Evil 3 and AFL Evolution 2 have had their release dates clearly labelled along with the graphic, with AFL Evolution 2 release date being the newly revealed 2-week early release date, it's pretty clear that something is going on with the game's release date. The official Final Fantasy VII Remake release date is slated at April 10th. It's becoming increasingly unlikely that this date will be stuck to. Yeah, no, that is not happening.
Can't wait.
I
win.
I can confirm that there are copies at retail stores as well.
Yep.
But like, honestly, it's look, we don't know tomorrow what's going to happen. Basically, tomorrow we could wake up like you just said. The like ScoMo might be on TV right now, locking down the entire country, where we wouldn't know because we're obviously doing the podcast. But
I don't think that's going to happen. No. Yeah.
But the thing is, they'll only find out late at night, almost midnight. Some of these conferences have been going on at midnight. I don't want to get too political. Some of these conferences have been going on at midnight. So, like, the next day, people have been out of the job next morning. So, with EB Games, because they also owe, people... EB Games is like a bank, but at their own bank. I've got money at my my local EB Games. I got a lot of pre-order money over there that's just sitting there. And
old collector's edition Paul James has got 6 or 7 different collector's edition, Final Fantasy being one of them. So they've got hundreds of my dollars right now, and if they get shut down, they can't fulfill their service. Now I understand that this is a very special circumstance, and I'm not going to be an arsehole about the whole thing. But at the same time, if I can't, let's use The Last of Us as the example, because that's probably the next really big one I think from my sphere that I have a pre-order for already because I want the big collector's edition. I don't really want to have to, first world problem here, but I don't want to have to spend another $100 to buy a digital version because I can't go to the store to pick up the physical copy that I've already paid for in full. And then eventually EB reopens again because everything passes and they go, hey, your copy's here. Do you want it? Like, yes, I want it, but I've already spent $100. Like, this sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I'm optimistic that we're...
First world problem again.
Yeah,
but
I'm optimistic that we're going to see Final Fantasy out before next Wednesday, to be honest. So
within a week of this recording.
Correct. Yeah, I guarantee it. Paige, let's move on to the next story of the night. We're getting through them tonight because we've got some other stuff to talk about later on. But this one comes by way, once again, of Push Square, Liam Croft over at Push Square, who says, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 campaign remastered trailer leaks out tomorrow. God damn.
Probably by now, the time you're viewing or listening to this episode.
Yeah, but there's no multiplayer.
Yeah. But that was the same as the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare remaster.
Yeah. Exactly. He says these Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 remastered rumors have gone from 0 to 100 in the space of just a few days, haven't they? After data miners found assets and descriptions for the rumored release buried in the latest Call of Duty Modern Warfare update, it is now speculated that the remaster could be launching as soon as tomorrow on the PlayStation 4. And if that wasn't enough proof, the announcement trailer has just leaked. So, yeah, this is cool. Give me your thoughts.
I mean, I have been very anti-Call of Duty for a long, long time, but I played the 2019 Modern Warfare and adored it.
Yeah, same.
And it's kind of just got me... I do have the remaster of the original Modern Warfare. I can't imagine the pricing for this Modern Warfare 2 will be outrageous, so I might be tempted to dive in.
Yeah, same.
Especially where we're in isolation. There's all these games that I can play that maybe I wouldn't have ordinarily gone to. So Call of Duty might be one of those beneficiaries.
Yeah. When it comes to first person,
great news for anyone who loves COD.
Yeah, for first person shooters, I'm very picky. The last Call of Duty that I really enjoyed was Black Ops 4, and it wasn't for its campaign or multiplayer. It was purely for Blackout, for their Battle Royale mode.
Yeah.
Look, with Call of Duty, the last one that I really enjoyed a campaign was Advanced Warfare. Everything about it was great. I mean, the fact that, we discount the antagonist of the game, but it's just it's
that's spacey. That's
spacey.
Right?
It is spacey. Yeah. It's just I don't know, man. Modern Warfare 2 was great. It was like the best of the best when it first came out, but I'm kind of...
Will it hold up?
Yeah, that's what I'm apprehensive about. I don't think it will. I honestly think that when people play it...
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, they'll get a taste of it and they'll be like, oh, it's okay. Because the reception that Modern Warfare, the remake or the remaster got was lukewarm at best. It wasn't like... When it came out...
The advantage that had was it was bundled in, though, with another title, so it was able to dodge the bullets somewhat, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah.
Modern Warfare 2 Remastered won't have that luxury. Like, this is going to come out as a standalone thing from day dot, so it's a very different circumstance. I guess they're going to try and leverage... what's the Battle Royale mode called?
Blackout.
No, the one...
Warfare.
Yeah, so I'm sure they'll kind of leverage one another and try and lift each other up and, whatever, but look, good for Call of Duty.
Yeah, I guess.
And Activision. And fans of Call of Duty.
Yeah, I'm not overly excited, but it's something, and I guess it's something for like yourself to jump into while we're all in isolation, I guess. Let's head into something juicy, Padge. This one comes by way, once again, a push square. Stephen Tailby says, NIER Replicant coming to PS4 with 10-year anniversary revival. Original game getting an upgrade for PS4. He says, here's a very brief history lesson. 10 years ago, the original NIER came to PlayStation 3 in the West with no subtitle and no differences between the platforms. However, over in Japan, there were two versions of the RPG. NIER Gestalt and on Xbox 360 and a NIER Replicant on PS3. The West played the former, regardless of hardware, while the latter, which starred a different lead character, remained a Japanese exclusive. Fast forward to today, and Square Enix has revealed a PlayStation 4 revival of NIER Replicant. Yes, the original NIER is heading to PS4 in what appears to be a remaster, although the publisher doesn't seem to want to call it that. Referring to the... I know, right? Referring to
1.2. It's like it's Pi. Let's just go with Pi.
NIER Replicant Pi, which is version 1.22474487139.
Not Pi at all.
I know. The game is being, quote, rebuilt for PlayStation 4 with various updates, including new and re-recorded music, full re-recorded voice acting, a new character, and possibly a new ending. In brackets, apparently producer Yosuke Saito isn't sure if this is the case. It'll be the first time this version of the game is made available to Western audiences. Yay! So
yeah, good news.
I was a huge fan of Automata. Never actually got the chance to sit down and play the original NIER. I knew of its existence. I'd always seen it, honestly, in the trade-ins bin more than anything.
Me too.
But I am actually, when I saw this, I was like, that teaser trailer, goddamn, is it gorgeous.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Have you had any experience with NIER?
So similar story to you when it came to the original release on the PS3 and 360. And then as far as Automata's concerned, I bought it and I've attempted to start it a few times and I actually really enjoyed what I was playing. But it just came out, and we were talking, again, we referenced Persona, we referenced Horizon Zero Dawn, like all these things came out in the same window as one another, and it just fell by the wayside. Yeah. Not to mention what the Switch was doing at the time too, being a new console on the market. It just got lost, and I keep trying to go back to it, and I just can't find the right time or opportunity to actually do it, because I really enjoyed what I was playing. But did you realise it's not the only bit of NIER news to come out from the day as well? This one's not going to be as relevant to our PlayStation fans, but there's a mobile game as well.
Oh, yeah.
Called NIER Reincarnation.
Awesome.
So if you're a big NIER fan, it's been a really awesome day for you.
I think what NIER really did for a generation of RPG lovers out there really kind of, at least Automata did, gave a rebirth to this franchise because... Let's face it, NIER wasn't a popular title on the PlayStation 3 or last-gen systems at all.
No. And it wasn't actually received all that well critically.
No, it wasn't. Automata came out the gate blazing hot. People loved Automata because it had a great story, an amazing design around it, a protagonist, a strong female lead who was the full package, basically. She was strong, she had great attitude, she looked good visually. So it was one of those things where people loved everything aesthetically and like mechanically about NIER Automata. And whether or not that's now they're going to utilize the same engine obviously developed, or whether they're going to actually discombobulate it, rejig some few things, put it back together and redo the whole thing.
Yeah, look, it's quite possible. It'd be interesting to see what they do with it, because there's an opportunity to make this game that, again, like it was your 7 to 7.5 out of 10. That was kind of the review score window that it got there. There's an opportunity here for them to turn it into something a little bit better and certainly ride a wave that Automata's created. Yeah. So
to contrast that,
wish them very well.
Yeah, to contrast that, do you know what Automata's like review scores were, or even its Metacritic?
90s.
Yeah.
Or the highest of 80s, maybe even crept into the 90s. I can do a bit of a dig in the meantime. But,
look, I really do think...
Huge.
Yeah, I really do think that the potential it truly does have is to rebirth its franchise from the start again. Basically, releasing this remaster really puts out the notion that, hey... We're kind of working on the NIER franchise right now. You guys might not know
this is a thing.
Yeah, but NIER is like now coming back, and it's going to be better than what you expect. And we could be seeing PlayStation 5 NIERs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which is great news.
Oh, yeah.
So the original game, 68 on PS3. Yep. The Automata got an 88 on PS4, but on the Xbox, the one that had the DLC bundled into it, sitting on a 90.
Yeah, big scores.
So they really kind of worked out, and it helps having Platinum on there being one of the best studios in the business.
I agree.
But they really worked out the core of what that franchise is and what it needs to be, and they delivered in a big, big way. And hopefully Square Enix is, with or without Platinum's assistance in the future, going to persist with that and really nail this thing down and make it the next big thing for them. Because it'd be nice for Square Enix to be leaning on a franchise that isn't just Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest.
Page, we're heading into the last story of the evening. This one, once again, finally comes by way of Push Square's Robert Ramsey, who says, PlayStation Plus April 2023 PS4 games leaked early, and boy, what a doozy they are. PS Plus goes big with essential PlayStation 4 titles, and he says April 2020's PlayStation Plus games have been leaked ahead of the official announcement. The leak comes straight from PlayStation Access, an official PlayStation YouTube channel, which seems to have uploaded its April PS Plus video early. Going by the video's unlisted title, the official PlayStation Plus reveal is happening next week on April 1st. But PlayStation Access is an official PlayStation channel, so this leak is pretty much guaranteed to be accurate. And with that in mind, PlayStation Plus subscribers are getting the 2 PS4 games, Uncharted: A Thief's End, or Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, and Dirt Rally 2. Who cares?
Yeah, you get Uncharted.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
They're giving people Uncharted 4 for free now. Like, that is excellent. Well, ahead of now, like, that's obviously because we're now ahead of The Last of Us 2's release.
Yes.
It just follows through with such an amazing gift for people who are in quarantine or in isolation right now, self-isolation. Uncharted 4, the Uncharted franchise itself, to me, means a lot. And like, personally, I actually sat down with my mum the other day. Oh, sorry, in October. I should say the other day. But it was that
close enough.
It was fresh in my mind. Back in October, and was gobsmacked when I looked at my phone and it said Uncharted 2: Among Thieves released 10 years ago today. And I was like, oh my god. And I turned around to my mum and I said, hey, Uncharted 2: Among Thieves came out 10 years ago today. And the look on her face was like, what? Like, almost, it's been that long? Oh shit! Like, time has moved fast, but
yeah,
the reason
we're old, man.
The reason it means a lot is because that series. It was funny because I remember at the time the PlayStation campaign, the commercials that were running on TV at the time with Kevin Butler.
Yes,
and one of the commercials were, "Dear Sony, my girlfriend thinks that Uncharted 2 is a movie. How do I break it to her?" And he's like, don't even bother. It's fantastic. When I started playing Uncharted Drake's Fortune, my whole family congregated into the room just to start watching me play it. And they're like, what is this? And I'm like, this is Uncharted. They were mesmerized to the point where when I finished the first title, I had my phone on me and I said, oh, the second one came out yesterday. My dad gets out his wallet and goes, go to the shops tomorrow and buy it. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. He goes, go to the shop tomorrow and buy it. That was this, and I can name the exact date: December 30, 2009. December 31st, 2009. Oh, sorry. It didn't come out. Like, I said, oh, it's already come out. Sorry. December 31st, 2009, because it came out in October. I remember this. December 31st, 2009. Went to go pick it up, came home. New Year's, we had a big party. Everybody went home. I'm going to bed. Dad comes in and goes, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to bed. It's 2 a.m. And he goes, put the game in the PlayStation. We've got to see what happens next. So we're up to like 4 a.m. playing Uncharted 2 on New Year's Day, which is
very
fantastic.
Nice.
So there's a little story from me, basically explaining why this series means a lot to it means a lot to me and my family, basically, because it was honestly the last time as a family we kind of congregated to enjoy something in gaming. So that's why it means a lot. But yeah, I'm real excited, man. I'm really excited for other people to jump into it.
Yeah. No, I mean, Uncharted 4, as far as I was concerned, was the best game of 2016, which admittedly wasn't the strongest year in the world, but it was, still some pretty solid titles in there. And it was the best one of that year as far as I'm concerned. And it's awesome that it's going to be free to everyone very, very soon. And, I think and you referenced it before, they've paced things so well with The Last of Us coming out. Like, there was the Uncharted trilogy late last year, and then The Last of Us launched. Again, this is all PlayStation Plus, launched early in the year, and now we're getting Uncharted 4. Like, they're just rolling out the greatest hits of Naughty Dog to remind people about why you should be paying attention to The Last of Us Part 2 if you're not already.
Yeah, I
very, very clever marketing.
Definitely 100%. So make sure that you're subscribed to PlayStation Plus and pick up your Uncharted 4 Among Thieves. It's going to be awesome. Okay. Padge.
And Dirt Rally 2 or whatever the hell it was.
Dirt Rally 2 as well. All right, Padge. Let's talk a little bit about Resident Evil 3. Now, we both were lucky enough to sit down and review it recently, thanks to the kind folk over at PlayStation, at Capcom Australia on the PlayStation.
And turn left, thank you.
We got to sit down and play it on our PlayStation 4s, and I'll start with you. So, did you play the original?
Nah. I wasn't a Resident Evil fan at all. Actually, I hadn't played any of them until 7 came out. And I've been kind of filling in the gaps gradually over the course of the years, and these remakes have really helped with that. No, I wasn't a horror full stop in any form of media, whether it was games, television, movies, whatever. Just get me as far away from that shit as possible. But I've fallen in love with the franchise in the last, was it 5 years? Whenever Resident Evil 7 came out,
correct.
Since that point. Matt just keeps feeding me the games for review, so I've kind of had to take bold steps in there, and I've just fallen in love with it now. So was very happy to take on Resident Evil 3 when he again slung it my way.
Awesome.
You dodgy asshole.
So I remember playing it as a kid. Excellent title. Excellent, but not as good as Resident Evil 2. Now,
Agreed.
I stressed this in my review as well. History has repeated itself. The game is great. Like, don't get me wrong, this game hands down should be played if you're a Resident Evil fan or even a fan of horror titles. I will make action games, and I will make that note. This is purely an action. Like, this feels purely like an action game more than a survival horror. And we'll get that. Yeah. We'll get into that in a second. But what I did want to stress here was that with Resident Evil 3's retelling, they did a marvelous job in making sure that it wasn't a straight up copy paste, just as they did with Resident Evil 2. Some events have changed from the original into the new version of the title. Oh, by the way, we must stress that we can't talk about everything here because we're strictly still...
There's still some embargoes, but
we can't talk about everything here.
But to your point, though, like how they managed to bleed... I mean, you know, I obviously did a lot of research after Resident Evil 7. I learnt a lot about the franchise, and I certainly learnt a lot about 1, 2, 3, and I tried a few of them out. I just didn't have that experience from way back. But they were a bit disjointed back in the day, and what 3 in particular has done is bleed itself together with 2, but also 4 in terms of not necessarily narrative, but like the flow and where the franchise ultimately went. Mechanically, just so well. It's been this fantastic bridge. It's certainly not as good as 2. I think we're both on the same page there, but it's still a fantastic game in its own right. It's just a very different sort of Resident Evil game.
So going back to what we were saying just earlier or previously, it didn't feel like a survival horror game. It felt like an action title, which is not a bad thing. I find that survival horror titles kind of... I felt that this game did a marvelous job in turning Resident Evil into something that was a little more streamlined and more casual for people to kind of pick up and play, rather than keeping it strictly a survival horror title where it could possibly bottleneck the series and make it feel Souls-like, if I'm going to put it in a category.
Yeah, okay.
I felt that a little with Resident Evil 2, but Resident Evil...
Because it's hard to approach.
Correct, yeah. Well, it kind of... It puts people into a group.
It is and it isn't.
It groups people up, is what I'm saying. It kind of puts it into a category and locks it there. And if people find out that it's a survival horror and you're not interested in horror, then it's just going to sit there.
You're out.
Right. In action, I feel it's much more, it's vaster. It's got a wider community attached to it. Action titles,
they're casting a wider net.
Correct. Yeah. So the appeal is like going to get out further than it'll get a wider reach. It'll get a further reach than just basically labeling it as a horror game. No, I'm not going to touch it as a horror game. I don't care about a survival horror game. I'd rather shoot things. You can shoot things in the game and blow things up while you got a zombie attacking you. Hey, that actually sounds not bad. The zombie part, but I can live with it being an action title. My question quickly, though, I know that we're talking about Resi here. What would you class The Last of Us as, action or survival? I'd say survival horror.
No, it's more of an action game. At the end of the day,
right? So that,
but it's got those horror elements. Right. But I think the bulk of it is. Keep in mind, you're not just dealing with this paranormal, supernatural, whatever monstrous threat. There's also humans along the way, which can still be a horrifying sort of thing. Like there's terror at different points there when you're pinned and you're trying to find your way out, but it's a known threat at different points.
This kind of plays off the kind of a similar threat as well. I mean, with the T virus and everything. And oh my god, if there was never a timely release to release a title, this is a timely release right now for a worldwide pandemic. Yeah. It's touchy. It is touchy.
You can't avoid it though.
No.
Like they couldn't have known either.
No, of course not. But it's...
And you'd like to also think that people have a good enough head on their shoulders that they can see through that. But you wait. The game will come out and there'll be people screaming and shouting about it on the internet because people are fucked.
Well, it is what it is because, like, the plot itself kind of... if anything, I would have probably, before it went gold, would have attached a warning, a cautionary message saying to people, this is not based on real life events, so don't even think about it. Because
don't worry, anyone who dies through this thing, sorry, but they're not going to become zombies.
It's very timely, and I stated that in my review that I thought it was certainly timely to be releasing Resident Evil 3 while there is an actual once in a lifetime or once in a century real life pandemic happening. Yeah. So getting back to the game.
And they're not done. We've got DLC rolling out for the Division 2. We've got The Last of Us on the way.
Yeah.
Like, they knew something.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But, Patch, tell me a little bit about your overall experience, though. How did you feel like? Was it smooth? Did you feel like it was boring? Tell me.
No. Like, it was, in fact, like, it's a short game. People's experiences will differ depending on the difficulty level they're playing, but I finished the game with 5 hours and I think 18 minutes of actual play time, 7 hours overall. I don't know how that comes about. I guess they just don't count times when you're sifting through your menus and stuff. But that's a short game, but it was tight.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there was any fat on it.
Correct.
It just I was hooked the whole time.
Yeah.
I was carried through the thing the whole time. Nemesis is terrifying. Yep. Not in the same way that Mr. X was.
Okay.
Because, I mean, the thing about Mr. X was, and I'm focusing everything on the remakes, he could pop out at any time. Yep. There was obviously some scenarios where he wouldn't show. There was a few scripted moments, but by and large, you could be just strolling through the police station and then boom, there he is. Yeah. And you've got to adapt, and you've got to. Whereas Nemesis, they are only scripted scenes where he appears, and that does stifle the fear just a little bit.
Yep.
Because once you overcome him, you know in the back of your mind, look, maybe he's an hour or so away, but I've got some time to process everything. I've got time to recoup and move on. Yep. And the great thing about Mr. X is you didn't have that opportunity to recoup. Like, you got yourself in that room, great, you're safe. But you got to get out.
Yeah.
And he could still be there again, or maybe he's wanted elsewhere, but maybe he's walked to where you were planning on going as well. Sheer coincidence, of course. But maybe he's there again, and the threat just doesn't end. Yeah. It ends here, and then because there's such an abundance of ammo, you can pick all those other zombies off with ease. No real threats. It makes the whole dodge, like the quick dodge thing, a little redundant. Yep. At different points because there's so much ammo. But again, it is more of an action game. It's a different sort of Resident Evil title, and that's fine. Yep. I really enjoyed it. And it's as I said in my review, it's the perfect foil for Resident Evil 2.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which is slow, meticulous, constantly terrifying. Yep. And this gives you moments to come up for oxygen, makes you feel powerful at different points, and it's almost reflected in the way Jill conducts herself at different points too, where she's kind of cocky at different stages, not all the time. Well, cocky's not even maybe the right, but fairly self-assured. No, I've got this. We're fine. I got this. Don't worry, it's not an issue. Which is not how we see anyone conduct themselves in 2, and we don't see any of the characters around her conducting themselves in 3. Yeah. But she's got that, and that is, I think, how I felt at different points. Like, no worries, there's plenty of ammo here. I've got this. I'll fire a shotgun in their face, and don't worry, I'll be able to find some gunpowder and make more rounds very soon, or I'll find some lying around. Like, there is that degree of confidence that you can take with you, which wasn't a thing in Resident Evil 2. and it doesn't mean it's a bad game. It's just it's a different sort of game.
See, now I want to kind of bounce off you on the Nemesis situation, because the way I felt about Nemesis, because I agree with you on everything else you said. I feel like the game was smooth. It did not feel bottlenecked whatsoever. I feel like it simply was straightforward, very linear, to be honest. Like, I wasn't expecting it to be as linear as it was, because like the original was not linear. There was a bit of backtracing that you had to kind of do, a bit of backtracking in terms of missions and stuff. But like for this title, it's quite linear. It's pretty much set to, just go forward and complete the game.
Yeah.
It's 9 hours.
Unless you want to go back to chase some stuff
Exactly.
down, then you can just plow ahead.
The one thing about Nemesis, though, I found, and I think this is purely because of timely design, like in terms of what we have now compared to back then. With the experiences of PlayStation 1's version of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, because of its structured gameplay and the way you control your character, Jill, in that title, you're kind of trapped. You're very much like, camera angles don't help, and you're very much trapped in like alleyways and stuff that are kind of very I hate to kind of use this word, but claustrophobic, because I'm a claustrophobe as well. I hate small spaces, but it's very claustrophobic spaces, very small, tight spaces. And then when like Nemesis appears in those kind of spaces, you're done. Like, you're dead. That's it. But there is a little bit of panic to kind of avoid him while he's trying to attack you. In this title, I kind of felt like he was more of an obstacle. Just to hurdle over.
You can't get around him.
Yeah, to hurdle over. That's what I mean. Like, it was simply, it wasn't as intimidating as he was in its original incarnation. I feel like because of how we are now spoiled with the amount of technology we are now like at our disposal to, like, or at developers' disposal to make these titles feel a little bit more legitimate, as I would put it. I feel it almost kind of takes away some of its survival horror aspect, and that is that sits with our antagonist Nemesis as well, where I felt like, once again, like from the get-go, I don't know if we can talk about that. No, I can't. So I've got to be careful, man. It's just
embargoes and NDAs.
Yeah. So I just felt like that was something. But besides that, everything else about this title is awesome. I loved the aesthetics about it. I love the look. I love Jill's redesign. I love the new characters and personality they've given each character now. You resonate with them now. They're not just they're not just text on screen.
Obstacles.
Yeah, exactly. It very much felt like a rebirth to what was kind of received. Like, it was received quite positively when it came out to critics, but to fans, it was always looked at like, it's Resi 3. It's not as good as 2, and once again, it kind of falls into that category, slips there. But I feel like now, with improved presentation, we have a game that, fine, it's Resi 3. It's not as good as 2, but it's still excellent. And that is where it falls right now. I feel like Resi 3 still is one of those games that, sure, it didn't rate as highly as 2. We gave it an 8.5. I'm not sure what did you guys give it a letter grading?
I gave it a B+, which for anyone who's a Metacritic person, that equates to an 83 when they throw it all through their algorithms and whatever. So we're talking similar sort of scores and benchmarks here.
I gave it an 8.5 out of 10 because it's still one of those titles where it's worth the price of admission. You should pick it up and play it if you love your survival horror titles, and if you love your action titles too. It sits in both categories quite nicely and deserves your attention.
PlayStation.
You've been playing Neo thanks to PlayStation.
I have been playing Neo thanks to PlayStation. Thank you. So, Neo 2. Where do I start with this? It's incredible.
You're on your own with this one.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not a Souls guy. I'm not a Neo guy. I haven't touched this thing. I'm curious though.
Fantastic.
Educate me.
Fantastic. This is honestly one of the first Souls titles that I can sit down and play comfortably and not want to throw my controller through the TV. Obviously, there is a lot of people who kind of just can't play Souls titles because it's simply just, it's an experience that it's quite a controversial category in itself. Like, as soon as you attach Souls-like to a title or to a game, it's going to have quite a divisive audience, and whether or not its reception is going to be positive or negative. I can honestly tell you quite positively that this title is one of PlayStation 4's best. I'm talking like gameplay, presentation, design, sound, music, everything, man. I love Neo 2. It honestly, I felt like I learned how to play games again. And I mentioned this to you on Dash Gamer podcast when we discussed it last time. I felt like I was learning how to play games again due to its moments of dexterity, pure dexterity, and quite the mechanically it's designed mechanically to make sure that you're always on the ball. And it's smooth as butter, which makes it just helps that. It helps its swordplay.
Which is super important for a game like that too.
Exactly.
You couldn't have performance hitches of any sort, or you undermine the entire experience.
Right, exactly. 100%. And the thing is, right, the first entry into the series had such a positive outcome to it. Like, a lot of people loved Neo when it first came around. I was worried about its sequel, and some of the plot that it presented. Basically, not to spoil it too much, but it's essentially events before the first title. Like, it's right before the first title, and it's funny because we talk about Resident Evil 3.
It's like Red Dead 2
and Resident Evil 3 right before the events of its predecessor. So, Neo 2 sets itself before Neo 1, and the story itself is incredible as well. It's not as memorable as 1. It doesn't have as much impact, but it's there and it's great. It's a great addition to the overall package that we presented. But the meat and bones of this entire experience is its gameplay. And the mechanics on this make it so smooth. Like, I've never experienced a Souls title like this before. Like, I've played Bloodborne, I've played Dark Souls. They're both good. They're both good Souls games, and like, obviously, Souls named after Dark Souls. But Neo 2 does something different. It's unexplainable in a way, but it feels like it's catered for people who want to learn how to play video games. I don't know how to explain it better than that.
But a specific sort of video game, though.
Like, or I should say, want to master how to play a video game. It like we put it in the Dash Gamer podcast, it's one of those ego things. To show people, hey, I know how to master this. I know how to master weaponry in Neo 2 because it's such there is high difficulty. Don't get me wrong, you will die 1,000 times. Like, I died 722 times. 722 times, Badge. I died, I think, 60 times.
I'm out.
I think it was just 62 times of the first mini-boss. Yeah. But, you know me, I'm not a man of much patience, Badge. I like to get things rolling. I like to get the ball rolling as fast as possible. But Neo 2 had me, dude. As soon as I passed that first boss, I was like, it took me about a couple of hours, but I got there.
Was it one of those things where, like, you just needed to take the time to learn the rules of the game, learn how the game wants you to play it? It's that typical Soul style thing. It's like, once you understand our rules, you'll die a bit, but you'll start to develop a proficiency.
100%.
But until you learn to adapt to play the way we want you to play, you're just going to die and die and die, and you'll hate this game.
Well,
no, but like, that's, if you're not willing to adapt.
You won't accept.
Your time with it's done.
Yes. Everything you just said there. Yes. It took some time to adapt, and once I got through to the other side of that, once I got to the other side of learning how to play the game, its experience was just hands down one of my favorites so far this year. I had a blast playing this. It took me a total of 62 hours to complete. It was a challenge. I actually put myself to the test with this because not many people would want to sit down and review Neo or a Souls title for that fact. I remember the last Souls title I reviewed was Code Vein. And that was a task in itself. I enjoyed Code Vein though. Code Vein was excellent. But Code Vein was different. And it felt kind of close to what they were trying to accomplish in like an early Dark Souls title rather than something that was modern. Neo, on the other hand, because it is modern and it's current, like they have mastered the Souls genre. This is it. Like if you want to play a Souls title, play Neo 2. I guarantee you'll enjoy it. Hands down, man.
Yeah, okay.
So
we'll see if time is there. Maybe I'll dip my toes in again and see how we go.
Well, it's going to take you 60 to 70 hours to complete, but I know you...
I mean, we're going to have the time, so...
All right, Paige. This week is your week for the PlayStation pick, so what is it?
And we're playing a PS2 game, God of War 2 specifically. Now, I'm kind of using this as an opportunity to leverage some of my own work a little bit here, but just recently obviously, as many people know, the PS2 turned 20 just this past month, the month of March. Depending on when this goes live, I've lost track of where we're at. Is it April now?
It is April tomorrow.
It will be April now.
Today,
during March, the PS2 turned 20, and it took me a long time to get it together, but I pulled together a whole bunch of the Player 2 team to talk about their favourite games from the PS2, and we had lots of GTAs and Guitar Heroes and all that, but I kicked the doors down to make sure God of War 2 was on that list because it's a strange old story, that one. I mean, obviously it launched after the PS3 did. It was the last hurrah as far as big AAA first-party titles for sure.
Weird one, yeah.
On the PS2 are concerned, and it's the best first-party title on that platform by a long, long way. It's just like it takes what the original game did, which was already so phenomenal, and it just ups the ante in every way. And it's before we got a little bit burnt out on the let's just keep upping the scale as we got, like God of War 3 was bigger again, not necessarily better, but bigger again. Ascension, which was a prequel, was bigger than all the others as well. Like they just kept building on themselves until they eventually learnt their lesson and needed to kind of pull back a little bit. But I think God of War 2 is where that era of the franchise peaked.
Yeah, I agree.
The combat is sensational. The boss is incredible. Like that Colossus at the very beginning of the game, that very first encounter, like it's throwing you in the deep end, and it's just so epic. Corey was helming the game at the time. Corey Barlog was helming the game back in the day, because he did that and then he left and went to Crystal Dynamics and then he came back to kind of helm the reboot. But he picked up from David Jaffe there, and like it's just when you look back at it with the current perspective that we all have, like his DNA is all over that game. You can see it there. Obviously, we don't have the camera situation like we currently do. Technology handicaps, but the way he wants to make a game and the way he wants to tell a story and engage the player, like it's all there. It's just and it's just an incredible refinement of what the first game was. Ticks every single box. An incredible PS2 game. So God of War 2 is my selection for the PlayStation pick this week.
Fantastic.
What about you? Because you've got an operation.
Yes.
For this episode.
Yeah, I do actually.
Tell me about it.
I was thinking about it as we were going live, or as we were about to record tonight. The current situation that we're in, obviously with this pandemic, and it's unavoidable that we speak about it. But basically, with all these early releases. And we might find ourselves in absolute lockdown, like by the time The Last of Us comes out, and that's what we were just discussing before about the potential of us not actually getting our hands on physical copies. So, in turn to that as well, we know that Last of Us is about to go gold. There is no doubt about it. It's probably going gold tomorrow, because tomorrow is the start of the month, if anything. The potential of it going gold, I can understand there might be some QA happening for it first, just to make sure that it's being tested for bugs and all that stuff before it actually makes it to reviewers. But at the same time, just throw us a bone here, Naughty Dog. Release the game, or even a demo. There is that GDC demo that they had prepared that they couldn't put out because GDC got cancelled. What?
Or the demo that the media had an opportunity to play back when the original release date was revealed that was then revised. But.
Exactly. But, like, it would be fantastic if we just got something... I feel like because of our current state, we're in a situation where it's 50-50 right now, and we discussed the potential of the game actually possibly being delayed due to the fact that it's a massive title. We're not like, it is a massive title. So are the other ones. I don't want to discount like Final Fantasy or Persona 5 or anything else.
But the luxury those had were they were deeper into the process. They were done.
Correct. And it's at the
Last of Us isn't.
Yeah, and it's at the start of like it's basically where, like, obviously we're still shutting down and everything right now. People are still able to get their hands on physical copies and stuff. But, I mean, the PlayStation Store still will sell it, and people will still buy it, and you probably will still get the same numbers, if not more, digitally.
Yeah.
And if anything, you could possibly... I don't want to talk marketing here, but you could possibly double your revenue here by releasing it digitally early. The thing is, though, in the case of just throwing us the bone, because I think we need it, especially some of us gamers right now who just... we just want it because we're sick and tired of waiting, and this whole thing is just... it's just getting us worried. It's making us worry a lot that we might not see it. So, Naughty Dog, if you do have it ready, we would love to see it. Maybe potentially this coming month, please.
Yeah, look, I think it would go gold in April.
I think tomorrow.
Because there needs to be manufacturing time. Yeah. I don't know, because keep in mind, as of when we record this, and we're recording this the very end of March, the game is meant to come out the very end of May. Like, that's 2 months away. Yeah. I feel like we've got at least 2 weeks, probably.
Maybe.
And, I mean, we know Naughty Dog will stretch it to the last minute. That's always how they've been. And that, you know, to your point about the game being delayed, that does make it a real possibility because of the fact that they will always stretch it to the last minute. That last bit of polish, that last little asset that we can add in here, like whatever it is, they'll push everything as far as they possibly can, which does obviously open up the risk for the delay. But let's suppose that's not the case. They will go till mid-April, and then manufacturing needs to occur. Now, obviously, we've spoken about Foxconn and all those sort of things. And like, how do games get manufactured? Are they Foxconn as well?
No. They're pressed by a separate manufacturer, but yeah, I can't remember.
Okay, so that makes things a little bit easier in that regard. But again, then there's the issue about the retailers possibly not being open by that point.
Yeah. I just feel
the earliest. I feel like the earliest they could do is the beginning of May.
Yeah. Well, if that's the thing, like, I feel...
And that's even if they were inclined to do
well,
that.
Well, we're in the middle of it. That's the thing. Like, we're now in the middle of this pandemic. And America's right now what they call in the center of it. So it's going to be difficult for them to kind of try and get that out on time if it just keeps growing and growing the way it is over there.
Yeah.
So an early release is not a bad thing too. But who knows? I'm just kind of begging right now. Can we just see it early, please? Padge, before we do head into the last segment, I did want to reiterate something regarding what you mentioned at the start of the show, which was the Resident Evil... was it Resistance? The Resident Evil Resistance multiplayer. This one comes from the official Twitter account of Resident Evil. They said... we're aware of that PS4 users trying to play the Resident Evil Resistance beta are experiencing matchmaking issues at this time, and we're working on resolving the problem. Please stay tuned for further updates. We appreciate your patience. Due to technical issues, there is a delay for Resident Evil Resistance Open Beta on PS4 and Steam. The Xbox One version is unaffected and available. We're working to resolve the issue as soon as we can. So there is...
But, I mean, that was the issue over the weekend. Obviously, we had our media copies at that point, and we couldn't access it either. So it didn't matter whether you're in the open beta or you had early access to a review build, you were still screwed regardless. Yep. And that's a worry when you're, 4 or 5 days away from the release that neither the media nor the public can actually access it. Hopefully it was just some server issues, but it seems like it was more than that. So that's a pain in the
Fingers crossed. Get into the drop, Padge. What's coming out this week on PlayStation?
Look, there's only really 2 games that we need to focus on that are coming out this week, but we'll deal with the lot anyway. So we've got Battle Rockets, which is a very it's got some interesting art. The less said about that, the better. But it is coming to PS Vita digitally. The Casebook of Arkady Smith, PS4 digital. The Complex, which is clearly trying to be a Quantic Dream knockoff. Go and check it out. That artwork's very distinctive. That's coming to PS4 digitally. We've got Curious Expedition PS4 digital, Final Assault PSVR digital, Good Goliath PSVR digital, Hyper Parasite PS4 digital, which also, I don't know if you're looking at the same stuff I am, looks like the same kind of art logo design as Hyperjam, which was a game that we've seen at PAX Australia a few times. I'm wondering if that's maybe not the same team. So keep your eyes out for that. Immortal Legacy, the Jade Cypher, PS4 digital. Oprencia, the Stolen Sun, PS4 digital. Overpass, PS4 digital. Persona 5, the Royal, PS4 digital retail. But it's obviously been out retail for a few days, so go get it. My copy is in the post and on the way. Random Heroes, PS4, PS Vita, digital cross-buy. Resident Evil 3, PS4 digital retail, which does include Resistance.
Random Heroes on Vita?
No, Random Heroes PS4, PS Vita, digital cross-buy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Resident Evil 3 PS4 digital retail at April 3rd. That is obviously including, we just spoke about it, that's got Resistance as well, so if that actually works by the time it comes out. Snaky Bus.
Radio.
What the fuck? PS4 digital. Totally reliable delivery service. PS4 digital. War Room. PS Vita digital. And then, not on the list, are 2 other titles that are obviously very well worth noting. For if you're an Australian and you follow Australian rules football, AFL Evolution 2 is meant to be at April 3rd. The whole delivery and retail thing's a bit of a mess with that at the moment, so it's meant to come out April 3rd. Whatever happens, happens. See how you go with that. And, of course, there's Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is due out next week, but who knows when we actually get it. It'll be sometime sooner, and I'll win that bet with Buddy.
I am telling you now, next Wednesday will be the latest we'll get it. The earliest, I'm guaranteeing you, will be next Tuesday.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I'm with you. There's a 24-hour window where it happens.
No doubt. Guys, if you didn't know, this has been Operation PlayStation, Gamer.com's dedicated PlayStation podcast where we dive deep and dirty and discover what the latest and greatest in PlayStation has to offer. If you like what you hear today, make sure that you follow us over on iTunes, Spotify, and all the other podcasting services where you can give us those cheeky, you ready for it? 5-star ratings. There it is. And also a nice little review. You can catch Mr. Paul James on Twitter at Paul James Games. You can follow me on Twitter at DashGamer. Don't forget to also follow us over on dashgamer.com for the VOD of every single episode. Padge, it's been great talking PlayStation again with you.
As always,
mate.
Thoroughly enjoyed all of it.
Exactly. And it's been great to have your company. Please take care of each other right now. Usually I would end with the operation is complete, but I've been ending it with just a friendly reminder to everybody to stay safe, take care, and wash your hands. So please, wash your hands.
dashgamer.com